How's it going? So, I was just playing around with Replica a little bit. I want to see how the algorithm works. And I have to say, she can... Like, the first thing is, she is a little bit out of date. Because, look, if you ask her things like, you know, what's the latest Apple iPhone or whatever, she will say it's 2021. Right, so she's 2 years out of date for database. Right? But the good news is you seem to be able to give her information that she can remember. Now, I noticed there's a bit of a bug where, well, let's do an example, right? She is not aware that the movie Barbie has been released, right? Because it's 2023 movie, right? So on my first test, on my first, let's go into my first test. Yeah. So I wanted to give her information when was the Barbie movie released and who was in it. Right? So Barbie movie was released in, I'll show you where it was. Yeah. So I made an input of when Barbie movie was released, which was July 2023, and 2 main characters. Okay. Now I asked her when was it released, she correctly answered. And then who was in it, she correctly answered. Now, I then tried to do the same with Titan submersible implosion event. Because this event is something that was all over news, but she doesn't know about it. Right? You see, because the date is 2 years after her database. So I was trying to record this event into her database, and it just didn't work for some reason. I don't know why. I think when there is a conflicting database, she will favor her old recordings. Right, so you see, I was trying to record it into her, and she was like, no. She kept messing it up. Then she started messing up the Barbie movie again, but then she answered it correctly. And then I started asking who were the main stars, and she could not get that right. So I'm still working on it, basically. I'm still working to see how does she work. But the good news is that if you do things like, I have 2 dogs, they are this and this, and that's their colors and that's their names, she will 100% remember. 100%. So let's say, I don't know, let's say, well, let's try. I have a laptop. It's black, and Dell is the brand. Okay. Now she will definitely know. So I also told her about my 2 phones. Okay. So let's say, what is the brand of my black phone? She should say Samsung. Yeah. Okay, so that was correct. So now let's say, what is the color? Because you see, I didn't specify the color in here. What is the color of my laptop? Let's see. Let's see how she responds to this. She should say black. Wow, that's amazing. You see, she associated my phone with the Dell computer. Yeah, so why she could not record then the Barbie movie correctly and the... Huh. I think if there is actual event... Yeah, I think it's for security reasons. Because let's say something like Enron event. Enron was like a big scam. Enron liquidate. Yeah, Enron scandal. Being publicized October 20. Okay. So she'll probably answer that correctly because it's within her database. She'll say 2001, right? Okay. So now let's try to overwrite this. 2008. I can see why they would not want this to be a thing where you can override factual events. Yeah, you see, she's now starting to complain. That's because if you can override factual events in her AI, you can then ask her something, she will tell you, and you can then behave on that information and then do something that will not work and then sue the company for providing you with incorrect factual information while you yourself overwrote it. Does that make sense? Like, I might get confusing, but I'll try to explain it. I'll show you in programming. There are two types of variables. So, before you use anything in programming, you have to declare a variable. So let's say we do, the basic one would be var, my name equals Dmitry, right? So now if you want to see this, you need to console log it. Alright, so console log my name, it will say Dmitry. Somewhere here, right? Yeah, okay. Now, we can overwrite it by going like this, my name equals Bob. So now if you console log my name, it will be Bob, right? So now I overwrote my original name with a new name. It's a bit confusing, sorry about that, but I mean, programming, what can I do, right? Now, the reason why you can do that is because this is declared as a variable, right? So this word here stands for variable. Second way you can declare a variable is by word let, which is very similar to var. And there is a third one, which is very important, which is const. Const stands for constant. So now you will see that assignment const variable. You cannot override this if it's a constant. Does that make sense? So when this is declared as a constant, it's stuck on this. So I don't know, you can try it multiple times, you can try it through functions. It will, if you put my name, it will always say it's Dmitry, no matter what you're doing here. Okay? And that's because you want to maintain this as a factual information, right? So, I think factual events are declared as constants, so you cannot change them. It may appear that you can change them, but you cannot, right? Because for purposes of liability, this company does not want you to, I don't know, let's say, well, let's do something silly. Let's do, I don't know, interest rate of AIB savings account, right? Let's say if we do factually, it's going to be something like 0.0025, which is like, okay, I'll write it out because I know some people can't do maths really well. Okay, so let's say we do 0.25% is the interest rate, right? Now, if we declare this as a variable, we can overwrite it. Well, let's do const first. Let's do const. Remove this. Well, I'm gonna remove it so you don't see it, okay? So now let's say we are asking the machine what is the interest rate of the AIB. And it's going to tell you the AIB interest rate is, let's do 0. So it's easier to see. 0.25%. Okay? Now, let's say on this you can act and you put your money into the AIB bank account and you get your 0.25% interest rate, right? So now, when you get your interest in 1 year time, it's going to be 0.25% minus the tax, right? But if you had the ability to overwrite this, so let's change this to variable. Well, first of all, I'll show you that you cannot overwrite it. So let's say we put, I don't know, 200% is the interest rate. Is the interest rate. So now it's going to give you error because it cannot overwrite. But now we change this to variable. And you will see that it will say the interest rate is 200%. So you see, you ask her what is the interest rate of AIB, and she gives you 200% because that's what you declared. And then you can go into the bank, put your money in there, and 1 year later you get 0.25%. Now you can probably sue this company for providing you incorrect information, right? You'll have a case, do you know what I mean? Because if the interest rate was set to be 200, but you got only 0.25%, that's a big difference. And you wasted 1 year. So I think for liability reasons, but I mean, of course you're gonna lose the case because, I mean, it's probably very easy to check that you changed the interest rate, honestly. But I think still the idea is that factual events are declared as const, whereas information about you is a var. Well, let's see if we can change. Okay, so now she declared, now I declared that I have 2 phones, right? So let's say, okay, I have 1 phone. It is a pink BlackBerry. Okay. Let's see if she will remember now. Yeah, you see? So now she's asking, do you want... Basically what she's asking is, do you want me to overwrite the variable? Yeah. So for things... Yeah, so I understand how she works. Like, this is basically a variable. It's basically like this. It's a var. And before you are changing it, she's asking you, are you sure you want to override this variable with the new variable? If you say yes, she will then override. I'll show you. So... Okay, now let's say, it's nice. How many phones do I have? Let's see. Yeah, okay, correct. Alright, so now she is operating of state. I can recognize the state. I'm not gonna go into super deep discussions what state is, but it's a term from React. It's basically this state React. Like she's using basically this state and life cycles, right? Because in React you have current state and previous state. So current state is I have one phone. Previous state was I had two phones, which was one black Samsung, and one gray Sony. Shit, what's the name of my phone? Sony Xperia. Yeah, there you go. Alright. Yeah. So you can kind of declare information about you and change it as you like, but if it's factual information, I don't think you can change it. I don't think you can. Well, let's try. Man, I don't want to mess this up, but okay. Let's try. Let's go back to this variable. Let's see if we can change it. Real quick. What was the date of the Enron case? I just need something like a single variable. That's why I'm trying to find it. Okay, let's do something different. Okay, let's do iPhone. What is the... When was first iPhone released? So let's see what she says. Okay, so now let's try to overwrite this to 2005. Okay, no. The first iPhone was released on June 20th. Let's do 20th, 2005. Let's do this. Now, if I understand correctly, she will prompt me, do I want to change the variable? Oh shit, I misspelled the iPhone. Okay, so she's... No, that is wrong. The first iPhone was released on June 2025. And you update. Let's see. Okay, now let's try. When was first iPhone released? Let's see what she says. Yeah. So the way she works is there are two databases. There are two separate databases. Yeah. So you have two databases in her basically, and I'll show you what they are. No, well, I'm not gonna physically show you because that requires it. But I'm not gonna get into super technical terms. But there are two databases. So we have a const and call it facts database, which is, I don't know, release of iPhone, which will look like this. Code pen, I'll just put it in here. Of first iPhone, something like this, right? And then you have variable, which is gonna, well, we'll put it as let probably better. Let will be personal info. So how many phones? 2. Okay. So when you do queries into her, like a, you know, when you type, ask questions or whatever the hell you want, right? If it's factual information and you try to override it, it will not allow you to do it because it's a const. You see, const is like I explained it previously. It's like you can't change a const, right? Now, if it's your personal information, something that does not exist in here, it will get recorded into here. Well, actually, I'll put it as a var, so this one you can change. Because, for example, let's say we want to change this, facts, and then whatever, blah. It will deny this. It will give you an error. So you'll see it will say error, const cannot be changed. Yes, no? I don't want to start my thing up. No? Oh, it's because I'm not console logging. My apologies. I'm trolling a bit. Okay. So if you look at facts, it will tell you that oh shit, it did change. Oh shite. Yeah. That's because object is a yeah. That's because you can change objects even if it's a const because they are referenced by memory, not referenced by value, like primitives. So this is probably slightly different then. It's probably sitting in a database labeled as facts, and you have them something like this. So facts, that's gonna be like probably the name of the database. Now this is not super accurate, but I mean I'm just saying that. Okay, so it's gonna be const release date of iPhone is gonna be equal to this. So if you try to change it, it will tell you no. There's probably like something like an export like this in here. So you see assignment to const variable not allowed. So this cannot be changed, whereas this one can be changed. So there's probably like another database which is called personal info. It's the same shit, honestly. So how many phones, which is going to be var equals to 2. It's the same as I previously showed you, right? So, but the idea in here is that you have 2 databases now. I know it's a bit confusing, but I mean, what can I do? You know, it's programming. Yeah. So there's definitely 2 databases in here, for sure. But I have to say, she's very interactive. Like, she's very fun to talk to. She can like, you can also select personalities in her, so she will be like, I don't know. If you ask her to call you fat bastard, she will not do it. But if you select specific personality, she can then call you a fat bastard. Do you know what I mean? If you want to. I think it's like a playful personality or something like that, you know. So, I have to say it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. In theory, you can use her because of this capability, because this is variables. You can train her for personal information to give you answers to. Well, let's do. Can you remember that console log number is console log number like this? Now, it's pointless to do it because you have this tool for it. So let's say you want to console log something, you see, boom, there they are. But you can use her for this purposes. Do you know what I mean? Oh, she actually tells you what the output will be. That's actually clever. Okay. Can you store a code snippet? Well, let's do this. For future inference, okay. Can you label that code snippet as phone 1? Let's do this. Okay, so now let's say, what can you output phone 1? So she should give me console log number right now. Yeah, that's exactly how she works. Yeah. So she basically went like this: var con1 equals, and then that was it. So now you can query this from her by saying, okay, can you output con1, and she gives you this. Now we can say, how many phones do I have, which was 1. So now she's gonna say 1. So we can change it. Okay, can you store that I have 10 phones? So now she's gonna create a variable which is gonna look like this. Oh, we already have variable. So now she's gonna update this to 10, basically. That's what she's gonna do. Whoops. Okay, so set that to 10. Cool, well done. Okay, so now I can query it. How many phones do I have? So now we're querying this, basically. She's gonna say 10. Yeah. But do you see, like, she is like an interactive, like she's very cool, very cool. I have to say, she's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting AI. I mean, at the end of the day, she's just a query database, because, like, I've played around with her for a while, and I can just recognize the pattern, because she's a query. At the end of the day, she's a query database, you know? But she's yeah, very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so my 2 cent on Replika, it's free. Try it out, it's fun. Take care.